Hey everybody, welcome to Blood Bowl. I am Complacent Badger.
I'm Sierra Kilo.
And we are here watching the Week 2 game for the Snarlftoof Smashas versus Tasty Action. No, you did not miss the Week 1. We did no recordings for the Week 1 games, and instead opted, because it was a mirror match for Week 1 and 2, just decided to talk about Week 1 during our Week 2 recordings.
Yeah, you figure that you give these guys a pass on Week 1 because everybody's going to be goofy. Some kids are playing with new teams. Some coaches are new to the league in general. So we gave them a pass on the critical review on Week 1, and now that they should have learned a little bit from their mistakes or their successes, now we'll beat the crap out of them verbally from a very far distance away.
Yep. And we have the returning champs, Snarlftoof Smashas, coached by Masrak. These orcs are looking green and mean, as they did last year. And then we have the returning coach, Hustler 1, with Tasty Action, his amazingly named human team that is still trying to get its stride, obviously. It's only beginning its second game.
Right. But, you know, he's smart enough to know how the gameplay works. He's at a big team value disadvantage, so he used his incentives in the best way possible, in his opinion, and picked up Morgan Thorg, a star player.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see how that works, because this is a Smash York team. And having another big guy is going to be beneficial to kind of alleviate that overpowered Smash.
Yep. I always have an issue with star players because you pick them up and any star player points that they pick up just leaves with them. So, especially for a budding team, I don't think it's a very good move because after you win the game, you didn't get a lot of star player points out of it.
Right. And him and I talked about it a little bit, and I said, hey, what are your goals? If you can use that player to suck up the opponents and maybe get an injury on him instead of on one of your primary players, that's a good thing. You have to use him not as a smasher, but as a tool to get points and free up your other guys so that they can make the points. So to make the star player points.
So,
and you know, that's what he decided to do. So, you know, based on, you could get a wizard,
mm-hmm.
and you could have the possibility of injuring your opponent, and you don't get the star player points for that as well. So if and this is somebody who effectively could be on the pitch the entire match.
Yep, and as we see on the pitch, Tasty Action leaving a massive hole on this route. But the Snarlftoof Smashas deciding to engage this blitzer with the runner instead of just staying out a little bit, trying to build that cage, but defeats the whole purpose of a cage if you're going to keep your ball carrier adjacent to a player.
Right. Exactly. And you see that when you have a kind of a smasher team, that's what you want to do. So you have to balance your ability to engage with the opponent. And we say this over and over and over again. Anytime that you hit an opponent, it needs to have an ultimate purpose of moving the ball when you're on offense or getting to the ball when you're on defense. Don't hit just to hit unless you've already done all of your primary actions, offensive or defensive.
Mm-hmm.
There's an injury there.
All right. Interesting that with an Agility 4 character, after that blitz, he did not hop over to try to take that ball and move it. And he opted to instead with the Agility 3 character, and then also to move into engagement instead of going out away or maybe away that direction. I don't understand. I think maybe he's trying to hit while trying to get a touchdown, but we'll see if it works.
Yeah, but some of the other things are, now that, because he's a more experienced team, he's got a lot of players to manage. So remembering who has what skills
mm-hmm.
is a job in and of itself. And it's sometimes almost more difficult to play an advanced team because you have to be aware of so many other things, all the special abilities and all the other things that your players have picked up along the way.
Throwing that one die block and goes into an attacker down. So right back onto the Smash's turn. However, Tasty Action does have a lot of coverage on the ball, so at that point, taking risk like that, not the worst thing possible. Once again, I'm very much against one-die blocks even in those situations, because if they fail, you're putting your player down on your opponent's turn, and it resulted in a stun, which is 2 turns that he'll be down for them.
Yeah. You know, one of the broken record things for you is that one-die block. And I'll you know, put in my 2 cents at the end of it. It's if you have block and your opponent doesn't, then it's a fairly different story. Though, you know, if you can avoid it, avoid it. That risk management, turn management.
I will say Tasty Action putting presence on the ball without actually jumping on it and potentially forcing the ball into a more advantageous position for the opponent is a pretty good move. I like that. He is outnumbered right now, so that coverage may not hold, but it allows the opponent to make mistakes.
Right, and just decreasing the odds of a clean pickup.
Mm-hmm.
And he's you know, offering the opponent the ability to fail that pickup, and then maybe it'll bounce into one of his players. So you don't always have to go for the ball. You can always set up a good defense and make it harder for your opponent. So and that pickup is a turn ender. A failed pickup is a turn ender.
And the Smash is actually doing that, trying to hop onto that ball despite the negative modifiers. It does bounce in a more advantageous position for the Smashes, but it does lose a little bit of yardage as well.
Yeah, interesting setup. Let's see if Tasty Action can get a little better coverage, because they're definitely a little too lumpy and a little too engaged than I'd like to see. Yeah, especially because they're at the strength disadvantage.
Yeah, he shouldn't be with the agility 3. He shouldn't be engaging over here on the right side. He should be pulling guys off to try to give maybe some backfield coverage, get guys set up for the pass. There's going to be a couple, you know, only a few turns left. If that ball comes free and you have nobody to take advantage, then you're done for. That push was a dangerous push. It actually dropped the ball into the player's hands.
Right.
And going for unnecessary going for it's dropping the ball after such a perfect bit of luck.
Right. But you do see how Morgenthorg has sucked up 2 of the opposing players, and that helps a little bit. That's how he should be using that player instead of just trying to be a smash attack. Because he's not going to win any star player points.
KO.
Maybe, you know, and right as I say it, he gets a KO. But you know, that's not. Those Black Orcs aren't the ones you're planning on hurting.
Yeah. So player gets pushed off the pitch after a pretty good pickup. Good assist with that one right there. Looks like nobody will be scoring. Tasty Action does not have enough movement to get the ball and to score, most likely. Once again, not having guys, I really do believe in having guys set up in at least one guy in the backfield to take advantage of an odd situation where the ball just gets loose.
Right, and he had a free player.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he had 4 players engaged or semi-engaged with those 3 orcs on the right side of the pitch there. He had a guy free, and he could have moved him at any time.
Mm-hmm. I find that Blood Bowl is a lot of taking advantage of very advantageous situations that come out of nowhere, and that's usually who wins, is who is prepared for the most situations.
Agreed.
I hope he doesn't go for it. It's good. Okay.
All right. Yeah. That's and that's something that we've seen, that managing the clock and knowing that you can't score, so don't risk injury to your players. Both
of those Black Orcs did not come back after KOs, both rolling 1s. That's a bit of really bad luck for Masrak there. So he'll be 2 Black Orcs down, which is a lot of his strength. I really do think that puts Tasty Action on the strength level now. Everybody else on the team is strength 3, except for the 2 Black Orcs, which are, one is 5, one is 4. But Morgenthorg is 6, and the Ogre is 5. So Tasty Action now has the strength advantage.
Right. And then player advantage.
Yes.
And that's probably just as significant, because he's got 2 big guys for 2 big guys, and then he's got more players available. And if I'm not mistaken, he has more movement allowances, correct?
Believe yes. The humans are 6 and 7, while most of the orcs are 5. I think the blitzers are 6. Yes, they are.
So now he needs to play not necessarily an agility style game, but an agility style game, because he's
Mm-hmm.
not. When you're close on strength but have the movement advantage and an agility advantage, then you need to be using that.
The smash is getting an excellent kick over there. The thrower having to go all the way to his own end zone. And he is taking advantage of that by starting to filter into his backfield. This should you should keep tasty action on the back foot for a short time. We'll see if the line holds up with all these big hitters.
Right. Anytime that you can get back there and put pressure, that alleviates routes and alleviates planning.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're cutting down your opponent's options.
Yep.
And he's still providing enough support where, you know, you're not going to expect the human team to throw long passes, though they can.
Right now with the very sunny, dead, but over to the smashed ankle. Yeah, right now with very sunny, the passing is going to be a little bit more difficult. However, he does have pass on his thrower, so it's not out of the realm of possibility. Right now, the smashes are a little bit too tight on the center and not doing enough coverage on the right, but he is putting ample pressure on the thrower and getting in a real good situation and just going for it. Just going for it. Nice.
That's awesome.
Risky, but I think the reward is well worth it.
Right, and I'm going to say that having so early in the turn, or in the half, I should say, and having the ball so deep back there, and he was well engaged with just about everybody, that's a risky pickup, but the worst case scenario is he's next to the ball if the pickup goes wrong.
Well, my big issue was that he used a reroll prior for the two going for it when he had an advantageous situation already. Had he failed either one of those go for it, the entire play could have turned around and it could have been bad for him.
Yep.
It worked. It was 2 2+s. He did his math and said, well, it's probably not odds for me to fall down, so he went for it and it worked out. So.
Right.
Yeah, that was just 2 1s on a dodge roll. That's rough. Probably wouldn't have gone for the dodge first. Probably would have started pressing guys in forward, but he went for the dodge first instead of getting his movements and picking up his players. And that guy might have not been down yet. Doing the
re-kick, yeah.
Yep, doing the partial cage because he doesn't need the back left on our view, right on his view. Smashes because this flank has been opened by the guys falling back. He moves into position, pushes the guy out of the way, and puts more pressure on that passer. Smashed ankle, a return to the smashed ankle that was put to him. Blackwork's doing work getting that line out of the way. Morgenthorg in the backfield, he may be doing a pass for Morgenthorg. Morgenthorg being an Agility 3 character, it's not the worst move. He right now, technically, one of his better catchers because just same agility but a lot tougher.
Right, but you know when we say that's not the guy that you want to be throwing to because the star player points are 0 value. This early in the season, a win is less important than leveling your players, especially on a brand new team.
I agree. I guess just trying to avoid the negative modifier, I feel like with the pass skill that you didn't use because you were doing a handoff, going for it is actually a lot more risky than doing a short pass, or sorry, quick pass. The quick pass would have made up for the modifier, and it would have been a 50-50 chance, while you took 2 2+s. So the exact statistics behind it, someone can correct me, but it sounds like the go for it's are a little riskier.
Yeah, and you know you missed the opportunity to have your passer
get a
star player point. Yep.
So he's picking up his players, trying to make sure that he picked up the player, but didn't actually move him to do anything. That's it's a very rookie mistake. Right. Then doing a dodge into that might have been a misclick, but if it wasn't, that was a very bad move. Dodged into 2 tackle zones and didn't move Morgenthorg. This could break the game. He had a chance to tie, but as long as you don't even really have to hit Morgenthorg, all you got to do is put bodies around him.
Yeah, your best opportunity is going to be, well, you got to put a buddy on him and try to blitz out. It's not going to work at that point.
Yep. Not having enough coverage. If he would have just put the thrower 1 over, he would have covered that side. But putting tuck nail right there pretty much ends it. Ooh. Nice.
Oh, yes.
Fireballing his own ball carrier, star player. I'm sure Morgan Thorpe will not accept a contract next game after that, but good move. It got the guys off, but unfortunately, the only person that took any damage was Morgan Thorpe, really.
That is unfortunate.
Once again, Orcs not having anybody in the backfield to take advantage of this situation, they're most likely just going to hold the ball and call it a win.
That is a pretty uneventful game for these two guys. We saw, what, 4 or 5 injuries total. A death that got re-rolled.
To a smashed ankle.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was one of those things where they, both coaches prefer to play a hitting game than a scoring game, and we've just come to expect it. And neither one of them has still gotten to the point where they make plans for the unexpected.
Right.
If
that's really what it comes down to, it is that what's going to happen if you get that ball loose.
You're going to stand there.
What are you going to do?
Yeah. And that was the last one. Okay, so a decent game, not too many glaring mistakes. Honestly, they each had at least one pretty bad mistake. For Mass Rack, do not just put your guy carrying the ball adjacent to players. That's dumb.
Yeah.
You're building a cage. You're building a cage to avoid guys being adjacent. And if you build the cage with dudes inside of it, usually you don't want to create your fortresses or bunkers with enemies already inside.
Right, building the wall while the enemy's in there already.
Yep. You also need to focus on making sure that you run a safety, especially against a human team where they are built to pass. They do have pass built into them. He didn't take catchers because I don't like catchers either, being strength 2, but they can be a very good catching or passing team. So I would have ran a safety. I would always run a safety almost in every situation. And then also putting guys into the opponent's backfield when we get tied up, just in case that ball comes loose. You can afford one guy. If one guy makes the difference in being outnumbered, then maybe I'm wrong, but it doesn't usually one guy make the difference.
Right, but it's specifically based on the situation that we had. He had the strength advantage and was equal with numbers, so he did have an available free man.
Yep, and then for tasty action, I would say focus a little bit more on ball movement. You did a good job, much better than what I've seen in the past. You've definitely been practicing and are doing better, but you need to be running safeties. You need to be running in the opponent's backfield, and I don't think Morgan Thorpe did as well as maybe picking up some Master Chefs would have been. The Snarlftoof Smashas made enough mistakes that if you would have taken a couple rerolls from them, I think it could have turned around a little bit. But,
Fair play. Yep, and if you're going to use that guy, use a star player. Try not to put them in a situation where they get the star player points. Their job is to suck up damage because you don't care because they're not coming back next team or next game. And that with that strength advantage, specifically with that character, you had it set in the beginning. And that was really good where you took 2 Black Orcs with that one character, and you were good to go. Let them beat on him all they want, and they're not going to try to dodge away too often. So you got them. So that was a good move. And then toward the second half, when you got a little desperate, you kind of went away from the primary strategy.
Yep, and one thing that I did remember, make sure you're following your risk management. Your ball carrier usually falls pretty high on the risk management of he needs to be safe. Even a Morgan Thorpe, strength 6, he can still be pushed down. It can happen.
Yep.
So you need to get him away instead of doing all the other moves that you were doing. And picking up a guy, but not doing anything with him, you might as well just left him on the ground.
Right.
And I think we're good. You got anything else?
Nope, that's it.
All right, good game, guys. Thanks for playing, and we'll see you in week 3.
Cheers.